Skateboarding.
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 Skateboarding. I actually think skateboarding has become like my new favourite hobby now. Despite this being my 6th episode of learning to skate, which hello and welcome if you're new to that, I am still very much a beginner. But recently I've been getting consistent, I've been going out quite often, and hopefully that means that you guys will be able to see how much I've improved from the last video. So in this video, I wanted to challenge myself and work on a bunch of different tricks. Manuals, Shuvit, nose pickups, ollies, and I'm not gonna lie, this did mean that I did the most falling over that I've ever done, which is great for you guys, because you get to be entertained. I was really hoping that all of the falling over would pay off, and spoiler alert, it actually did. I can't believe that I actually just did it. So let's get to it. So starting at day 1. So I pulled up to my chosen skating location and it was completely empty. It was just me, myself, and my questionable skating abilities. This meant that I could really go all out and test what my little legs were capable of. Not much, by the looks of things, not much. But it did mean that I did want to push myself, and I didn't really care about falling over as much, which was quite nice. So when I first got on my board today, I was a bit wobbly, not gonna lie. Wasn't sure how long I was gonna stay out for, but I've literally stayed out for like a good 2 hours. So potentially more lengthy skating videos going on. So I probably got a bit too excited by the complete bare landscape that I just did a lot of cruising around at first. I wanted to work on getting from A to B using my skateboard as a method of transport. Obviously practicing getting around like A to B, I think that is going to be something that is really going to help just the way that I am on my board. So instead of just like going up and down the same road and stopping and starting again, I'm gonna actually try and use it practically and like turn and stuff, because that's also something that I haven't been practicing. And this was actually part of the advice that pro skater Ricky, who's been helping me out behind the scenes with my skating stuff, bless up.
You need to go somewhere, you need to go to the shop, go skating. A curb is approaching you, pick up the board. Get back on the board, go again. And using skating when you need to will kind of help you build these skills.
And on top of it being useful, it was also really fun. There was something so freeing about just putting on a banging playlist. If you have any skating playlists, let me know. So once I got used to being back on my board, I started working on some tricks. So the first trick that I was working on was manuals. And I know what you're thinking, you've done manuals like 50 million times at this point. And I think I've got really good at doing manuals whilst I'm still. And when I say really good, I mean I can do it for like 5 seconds. But I've been thinking about doing this for ages, and that is trying to do manuals whilst I'm moving. Apparently this is a really important step for learning how to do an ollie whilst you're moving. I've also been skating around and trying to do like little manuals over every single crack that I see, even though the cracks might not be that big. Hopefully I'll be able to get up onto curbs in a little bit, which is kind of fun, so I can go off curbs and go on curbs. It's actually really useful to be able to get up onto pavements, which eventually is definitely something that I want to be able to do, because I can pretty confidently go off curbs now, but it would be nice to get back onto them, or else I'm just always going downhill. Now, as much as I thought this was really fun, it is actually so lethal. Like one time I fell over off the front of my board, and you're just gonna have to imagine it because I didn't get it on camera. So once I'd covered that, I thought it was time to move on to the next thing, which is ollies. I made a video about this, basically summarizing how I learned to ollie. If you want to check that out, the link is in the description. But I was basically just working on trying to level out the board by using my front foot to nudge the nose and make it even in midair. I was working on this every day when I went out, and my ollies went from looking kind of like this to like this. Obviously they're not perfect all the time, but this is just kind of where I'm at the minute. Also, you know how I was bragging that there was like absolutely no one around, except for when I do the most embarrassing fall ever and someone runs by. Literally the walk of shame. That is so embarrassing. The next trick I was working on, not really that interesting. I was just doing some 180-degree twists. I did this over a couple of days. So after I'd covered the basics, I thought it was time to move on to something that I had never tried before. Starting with nose pickups. So in my very first video, I learned how to pick up the board so I didn't have to bend down and look like I was throwing it back every time. But I'm kind of getting bored of the way that I'm picking up my board. No pun intended. So I wanted to try something different. See, I think this way of picking up the board looks so cool, and I just needed to try it. Because look, you're not even looking at the board when you pick it up. It looks so cool. Turns out it was a bit harder to coordinate it than I first thought. With the nose pickups, I keep on hitting it like way too hard, and then it just like goes straight into my ass, and I swear I'm gonna have like huge bruises from that. It's actually so bad. Either that or I don't hit it hard enough. enough and then it just like flops into the air. I don't know why I can do it at the back, but I can't do it at the front. I think it's because like my legs are all crossed over and I've just got some like problems with coordination, as always. Oh, and it doesn't look cool. I went out again the next day, tried it again, went out again the next day, kept on doing it. I kind of got it down so it looks something like this. So if you guys also suck, don't give up just yet. Give it 3 sessions of solid practice and you might be able to get it. Next step was trying out the caveman, which probably has the coolest name of any skate trick ever. I think it counts as a caveman, or at least it's one of the first stages of doing one. So what I was basically doing was just throwing the board and trying to connect my feet with it before it touched the ground. There was a lot of falling over on this one, do not get me wrong though. And the board kept on flying up and hitting me in the ankles, it hurt so bad. You might need to wear like shin pads or something, I have no idea. And by the last day, it was actually looking pretty sick, and I didn't die whilst I was doing it, so that's always a plus. So the last of the basic tricks that I was trying was practicing my running starts. I did look a bit like a maniac, just sprinting across campus with my board, but you gotta do what you gotta do, you know? And there was no one around, so it was alright. So I know what you're thinking, this video has been boring, and are you not going to do something cooler? Bit rude, but thanks for asking. Yes, the next thing that I'm going to do is the main point of this video, which was trying to get a Shuvit. And who better to help me out with this than Ricky? I got a bunch of advice from him, including start with a Shuvit, not a pop Shuvit.
I would definitely recommend doing a Shuvit first, and don't really worry about a pop Shuvit.
Currently, I'm not going to lie, I actually don't know. Like, I know the difference between the two of them, like if I saw it, but I don't know the difference between actually doing it. So, first of all, I've got to figure out that, like, what is the difference between a Shuvit and a pop Shuvit. So going out on day one, I really didn't have any idea what I was doing, apart from that practicing without a board was my first step. I did look a little bit stupid doing that though, so I didn't do it for too long. And I know it doesn't look like it, but I actually have tried this trick before, and it went horrendously.
I would definitely recommend trying stationary only first.
So that makes sense why my first few attempts were so bad. As you can see, I had way too much pop. I was throwing the board around like everywhere. And I could only get 1 foot on, and when I did put it on, it was too far up the nose, so the board just went flying up, and oh my god, I had so many bruises after this day. It was painful emotionally and physically. I couldn't do it. I tried this from every single position, and I tried it about 1,000,000 times. So after day number 1, I sent Ricky the videos of me practicing, and I got some pretty good advice.
When we're doing a Shuvit, it is basically 100% from the back here. So our back foot positioning is really important. We really want to be just hugging this corner pocket and just pushing our foot directly back.
And this was advice that I actually listened to. So I practiced jumping around on a stationary board. If you're going to try and do a Shuvit, there's a lot of like jumping and then landing back on the board. And actually the landing back on the board is the bit that I struggle with. So I'm going to practice doing jumps, but where I like leave the board behind. Like it's nothing fancy, but hopefully it should get me used to it. And also doing a 180-degree twist just on the board, like keeping the board still and I move 180 degrees. So yeah, fingers crossed I don't die and it goes well, as always. And on this day, I committed a lot more because I was convinced that I was going to do it within 2 days of practicing, and I was starting to get really close. My second foot was almost on the board a couple of times. Committing a little bit more was really, really helpful, but it did mean that I fell over quite a bit. And it was probably the most that I ever ate shit, ever, in one go. I was starting to lose hope a little bit until this happened. Which for half a second, I managed to land 2 feet on the board, and I went fucking crazy. I was so happy that I'd finally landed that. And then I kind of realized, actually I fell off like 2 seconds later, and it probably doesn't count as a Shuvit. So that killed my vibe instantly. But I wasn't gonna let that stop me, so I was going back to do it again. Which in hindsight was a fucking massive mistake. Because I went back and I fell over so bad and so embarrassingly. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever recover. That was maybe the worst and the most embarrassing fall that like I've ever had ever. So I was so hyped because I finally got the Shuvit. I could not believe it. I had to go on a little run, and then immediately afterwards I get that. So what's going on? Damn. Okay, wear your elbow pads, guys. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna keep trying. So I contemplated not putting this into the video, but it was too funny to not put in, so not gonna lie, after that incident, I was kind of a little bit bummed out. So instead of being sad about it, I decided to fuel my shopping addiction, and I got some new shoes in the hopes that it's actually gonna help me land some tricks. I don't know. Hopefully these Converse are magical or something. And it was a rainy day, so I thought I'd put it to good use, and I decided to start practicing on carpet. And I've also been practicing at home without any wheels or trucks, so hopefully that should be helpful.
But try to land a shove it with no trucks, no wheels. It kind of makes it way easier.
And at first, I wasn't really moving the board enough, and so I was kind of going round in a circle, and I found it hard to land 2 feet on the board, but it literally took me maybe 10 minutes to be able to get it down looking something like this, which made me feel a lot better and ready for day 3. I went out in the middle of the night, and again the same thing happened where I almost landed a shove it, but I fell off almost instantly. I just kind of did it. So I was like half hyped for that, but I really wanted to get a proper shove it down. So day 4, I went out again, and I'd convinced myself that this was going to be the final day that I went out, and I was feeling kind of hopeful about it. Okay, so I've just come to the uni again for the 3rd time, and this time I really do feel like I'm gonna get a shove it. I feel like I've been practicing on like carpet for quite a bit. I feel like I'm getting close, so we'll see. So I set myself up in one place which I knew was gonna be really quiet, and I did a shove it on repeat for a few good hours. And I was convinced that I was not going to leave until it was done, which did mean that I got very hot and sweaty. Right after I was about to give up again, I finally landed it, and I didn't fall off afterwards. I can't believe that I actually just did it. I just literally can't even believe that I finally got it, like, and I actually filmed that on camera as well. When I was stood there, I was like, I'm going to do it as many times as I can. I swear to God, it's always as soon as I need to use the microphone, there's just someone fucking farting so loud. I mean, it wasn't probably the best shove it that I could have done, but it was still like, I landed it. Also, I couldn't get too excited like in the moment because there was someone walking past, and I felt so embarrassed to be like shouting and screaming. After that success, I wanted to go straight out there and try it again, but just like last time, I got the wobbles and almost died, so I decided to actually just leave it on a high note before I lost my elbows. So I'm probably gonna round up the video here just because I've done everything that I want to do. I've learned some new tricks, I finally nailed some stuff. I'm gonna try get my shove it down a little bit more, but if there's anything that you want me to try in the next video, let me know, leave a comment. I read like every single one of them. And also, if you guys like the video, let me know. If you want more frequent updates, go to my Instagram, it's pretty sick. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.